guys, welcome out to Stargate TWIG, otherwise known as Tactical Weapons Integration Group. This is the Season 1 debrief for the show, and we're going to come back and play Stargate later on this year, or probably late this year or early next. Maybe we'll have some episodes ready to go over Christmas time, and we'll give you the TV movie that would lead us into Season 2. Might be kind of the idea, or who knows what is going to happen next, as the MGM deal with Amazon, I think, is closed. There's been a lot of talk on the Stargate forums about what's going on with the show, the franchise in general. So without any further ado, I've been the Geekmaster for this season. We're playing the Wyvern Games 5th edition of the based upon D&D 5th edition rules for Stargate SG-1. I'm joined with my co-host on TWIG and my best friend,
Alex.
And I'm also joined by the host of this anime podcast. He's a frequent TWIG contributor and all-around good guy.
It's Ken playing that played Saul in this
And of course, it wouldn't be TWIG without our lovable sense of oddity and weird stories that come out of nowhere.
JT from Saskatoon, who played Lieutenant Carter Hall.
Okay, so we're gonna do this as kind of a debrief roundtable like we used to do with Terrible Warriors, because I just think that's a really good idea to get feedback from the players after you've played through a game. We've had 14 episodes, Alex?
Yes.
Yeah, 13 or
People season.
14, including the finale, I believe.
All right, so I guess let's go around the table. Whoever wants to go first can go first. What did you think?
I knew this cliffhanger was coming. I knew you were going to do this. I've been listening to Terrible Warriors since way back in the beginning. I have listened to more than enough podcasts with you, Mike. I knew it was coming, and I was right.
Now, which part?
Oh, I knew the NID was coming. As soon as we get this Agent Smith, Tommy Lee Jones, Men in Black, Mother, Agent Reeve, I just like, the NID's coming. They're going to be taking over the base while we're gone, and it's on next season.
Yes, a new war for Earth is kind of how I envisioned this season. So let's go to our Stargate expert. Alex, what did you think?
It took more of an X-Files style turn than I was expecting, but I should have expected it because generally you're the horror guy.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it went quite well. It was a bit of a blend, a little more of like a modernization of the kinds of stories they would have done then, that I almost feel like probably they wouldn't have been able to do the special effects for on the budgets they had 15, 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But kind of the kind of stories I see them probably doing if they get the revival running. I'm trying to think, out of the few episodes, let's say in quotes, that we did,
Mm-hmm.
Trying to think which one was my favorite.
I think mine was the Jungle Planet.
Probably. I would say they each had their merits for sure. But yeah, Jungle Planet's probably the most interesting one because it was the most like what I pictured an SG-1 like double parter would be.
Okay, well, that's good.
Like it felt like something that you could wrap up in one singular 40-minute episode, but it was more than likely going to be, because you haven't gotten that far in the actual series, but from seasons like 7 onward,
Mm-hmm.
they don't just do cliffhanger endings for the seasons. They do like 1 or 2. In fact, I think seasons 9 and 10 had 3 2-part episodes in each season.
Oh,
Like a mid-season, like they would do them back to back. Like when they started to get more comfortable with the idea that, hey, we've done so many episodes, we can actually make longer stories.
mm-hmm.
It felt like a late series show.
Okay, so that's good. Yay! I don't suck. And what did you think, Ken?
I mean, overall, like, this is every single thing you threw at me, especially given the fact that I'm the commander of the team, was always just keeping me on my toes and kind of going tit for tat with you in terms of what I thought it was going and where it actually went. Especially in that finale, given the fact that I feel like even as my character, Saul would kind of genuinely start piecing things together and going, all right, something's up with this goo, and he just kind of goes, all right, probably Charmlinda is listening in on everything going on, and lo and behold.
Now, to give you guys feedback, I made that up on the spot.
I'm sure you did.
Because I'm thinking, you know what? I like the way that works. I can work it back throughout the season. And I like the idea of setting stuff up that happens over a season. One thing with Stargate, I like little subplots that they introduce early on in episodes. They'll refer to events that happen. But the beauty of Stargate is you don't need to have seen every single episode to see a continuing character arc. So when Carter got grabbed, I think I was watching Star Trek at the time, and I just really liked the idea of the Borg assimilation. And I wasn't going to turn him into a Borg, but I just wanted some kind of a question to always be in the air. What's happening to Carter? And I did have a different plan, and I still might pull it off next season. The idea of the artificial intelligences, you did call that fairly early on based upon Guilty Spark from the Halo games. But then I started looking at other ideas in space for what these weapons control. What the Makwa discovered with the Gatherer, who has the planet-wide AI, and these things could create Dyson spheres in their own systems that basically turn the system into a mini Death Star powered by that system's own sun. And then the weapon could be destroyed whenever it basically needed to be done and kind of like over with.
Yeah.
So go ahead, JT.
Well, I'm just saying, one thing that I really liked, a couple of things. One, I appreciate you guys letting me ramble sometimes, both off mic and with Carter. And I found that I had a lot of fun just kind of free forming it, like when Carter goes to the surveillance room in the second last episode and just literally no one questions Carter walking in with a buddy. It's like, oh, it's this creep again, you know. But I love the overall, like, picking and choosing like different genres. And I don't know about you guys, but I felt like Stargate TWIG felt to me very much like third season Sliders, where it wasn't so much the heavy sci-fi anymore. They're just like, okay, what if they went to the planet of this rock band's of vampires. Like, it just kind of had that late 90s syndicated Saturday afternoon TV kind of fun to it for me.
Pre Arturo death.
Well, even some of the stuff after Arturo death, and that's in conversation for an entirely different podcast. But yeah, that, like I said, there's that late 90s, the golden age of syndicated television. I had so much fun with these stories. I don't know how you guys saw stuff. Like when we went to Plant Zombies, I thought it looked something in my head. I saw them as a mix of something between the Flood from Halo and you guys have all seen the Creep Show movie from the 80s, like the first one from 82.
The furry guy, yeah.
Yeah, they had The Lonesome Death of Jordy Verrill. I had to look it up here. It's the one where Stephen King plays this yokel who finds this meteor crashes.
Shit.
Yeah, and he gets this weird moss-like plant keeps growing over him, and then eventually, takes his own life. But just, it looked really creepy and weird. And if you mix that with the Flood, specifically, I had to rein in my natural exuberance to like talk shit and be a character all the time, especially in the Jungle Planet, because we're in the middle of a zombie horror movie, basically. And now is not the time for pithy comments. I kept having to tell myself, because somebody's going to get got. Now, what was it? Fireteam Paladin. I was kind of hoping, and the only one that survived was the diplomat.
Yeah,
But
that
she's
was
just
my
gone
thought too.
catatonic, and the story I had written in my head is that Carter would, being that she is the most normal, closest to him, so he would have been like kind of like checking up on her. How's she doing this week, Carter? Oh, she's still eating her crayons, because I thought if she survived, she would have just been like nuts, and just occasionally we just hear this like Harley Quinn like shriek laugh from down the hall. So
now I envisioned a different plant creatures in my mind than you did.
yeah,
I envisioned them a mix between the plant people from Don't Go Into the Basement, the Goosebumps book, and Swamp Thing.
I was more. I was like.
or...
I was more a Swamp Thing mixed with the clickers from Last of Us.
Interesting. I never thought about that, actually. When I designed that adventure, one of the things I don't see a lot of game masters do so much when they play different role-playing games. Have you ever noticed it always seems to be a nice kind of sunny day, or it's always a dark and stormy night, sort of like with like a lot of adventures, it's always very generic to me. And I wanted to give you guys different biomes to kind of adventure in. So that's why our first adventure was a snow planet, then a jungle planet, and then this is the underwater planet.
Underwater magma planet.
Yeah, and I've got some of these ideas from Halo, got some of these ideas from Mass Effect and other ideas, because I always want to give you guys someplace interesting to adventure through. And the idea for Zombie Planet, I actually got from, because I've never seen Assault on Precinct 13, but I know the premise, and I know Resident Evil 2 has that idea where you're holed up inside the Raccoon City Police Department. So that's how I envision that kind of going, thinking I want you guys to be constantly assaulted. You're managing resources.
It
but
sounds like you were Dawn of the Deading us.
Yeah, I wanted you guys to be able to uncover plots. Plus, I also wanted to make this threat in the background that Stargate, the Phoenix base, its command structure is good. Like General PK Lawyer generally means well for his troops, but does that mean everybody in the organization means well? Like we think of Stargate Command as an incorruptible organization with like General Hammond does well. The senator in the first or second season seems to be on their side once he sees the value in the program. And then I started reading the Stargate wiki, and I started finding about, agents that turn against Stargate, the NID, how they're like a civilian branch that has interest in the Stargate program, and they're the guys that covered up Roswell and all that shit.
It's what if the CIA had a splinter group?
Yeah, and I love that idea.
A splinter group that it's actually it's very much like Hydra.
Yeah,
like Hydra infiltrating SHIELD to the point that people within SHIELD have no idea that it even exists.
Right? Yeah, and I love the idea behind that, because obviously Stargate to me is kind of like Star Trek, where most of it ends on a fairly good note. And I like to tell darker, edgier stories, but not to the point of gritty and grimy where you can't tell what it is anymore.
This
you don't go full Frank Miller.
It's not going to be Battlestar Galactica where everybody's questioning their own sanity and whether or not they're a Cylon for 3 seasons straight.
Yeah, exactly. Like I want to tell more interesting sci-fi stories for you guys. Let your characters breathe as individuals and sort of give my own take on the Stargate universe, because when me and Alex were spending a lot of time together before the pandemic hit, we were watching Stargate pretty regularly, and then I started going to school and everything else, and I just lost track of time. And when you're hearing this, I'm probably still off recovering from surgery. So hopefully I'm watching Stargate again. I'm probably just going to watch it right from the very beginning using Alex's Essential Guide to Stargate, which should really be a blog post somewhere.
The Essential Guide is my truly essential guide is watch everything. but yeah, like there are things you can skip. Basically, you watch all the double episodes, all that, yada yada yada. I think you got most of the way through season 3 and you were into season 4.
Yeah, I was about halfway through like season 4, which I haven't touched upon the replicators, which I love the idea behind those guys. I wanted to give you guys your own system lord that was unique and different. Charmunda I was looking up different Hindu goddesses. And when I saw that Charmunda was the Hindu goddess of death and disease, I'm thinking, okay, that's a cool name, and I can say it.
Can I give a little secret?
Sure.
The one aspect of this whole campaign, this whole Stargate thing that I really, really didn't like was the name Charmunda.
Oh, okay. I just liked it because it was easy to say.
It's fine. It's fine. Like the reasoning behind it is fine and everything. I thought it was a dumb name and I hated it.
Okay.
And I was like, can we just get rid of this bitch so we don't have to deal with it anymore? I don't like that name. Like, it's like, whenever I heard you or anybody else say Charmunda, it just sounded like a fake made up thing. For whatever reason, I kept envisioning a candy wrapper. I don't know why. I was just thinking like Charmunda is like off-brand Big Turk or off-brand Baby Ruth. Like, that's all.
Maybe it's the fact that I have multiple Indian friends that it just went
stuck with you.
It just instantly was fine.
Oh no, well, and I think the reason's fine. I don't know. For some reason, it doesn't sound like a menacing name to me.
Yeah, it's not as menacing as Ra, Apophis, or Anubis. And I wanted to pick a different culture to be represented by the Goa'uld that wasn't just another Egyptian kind of knockoff or something.
Now, to me, like my general picture is when you define Charmunda, I was just like, okay, so Priyanka Chopra, like, just instantly came to mind. And it's just like, yeah, no, I can see the menace that could exude from her, but there's a level of elegance and superiority that she's exuding.
When I designed her, I took the idea of the Borg Queen, and what I mean by it is I wanted sexy but menacing, because I've seen a lot of incredibly attractive South Indian women, and I've seen artwork depicting them as warriors too. And I remember something I was watching, and I just remember thinking, you know what, if I could make her a new system lord, because you don't hear too many female Goa'ulds. They're just like the queens that breed, and that's it.
Well, there was Nirti, the Indian goddess of death, that was in the show. So this is sort of like kind of the same character, only more sinister.
When I first heard Charmunda, and this is just my own white ignorance in terms of other cultures, I thought that was a Latin American sounding name. So I just thought of Salma Hayek in From Dusk Till Dawn, coming out as Santanico Pandemonium. But then I looked it up, and I was like, I educated myself because I didn't want to sound like a complete dick.
Like, there was a lot about her. I didn't get a chance to do so much. Like, when I designed her Tiger Guards, I think I was looking at like Warhammer 40K or so. I was looking at something Warhammer, and I got the idea for my cat, Dr. Wiley, is carrying around a mouse because he's a mighty hunter. I just had to share that. I haven't seen him do that too often. But yeah, like, I wanted her guards to be distinct, and the T-800s, so to speak, they're essentially Terminators. You guys did catch that. I'm using stats remarkably similar to those with some of the serial numbers scratched off. But I have an idea. Like, obviously, when we get to season 2, the origins of how Charmunda found these people, why she was banished. and, you know, hidden away in a sarcophagus for thousands of years. Those are questions I want to answer kind of later on, because as I understand the lore of the show, Anubis is the big bad of all the system lords eventually. So my question,
not like where we are,
Mhm.
not even remotely important, but not yet.
Yeah, he's not reared his ugly head.
My idea was to be, what if there was something Anubis was afraid of?
Exactly.
And what did that represent?
Because
And
that mofo was afraid of Ra, and that's one of the the reason he comes. One of the main reasons he comes back, at least in the writing, was he was so far away in exile, he didn't know that Ra was gone.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the funny thing. If you look at the way they wrote the lore and everything, like, Ra should have been the most terrifying system lord to deal with, and would have been, because he controlled all of the other system lords, and controlled vastly more amounts of space and Jaffa and everybody. But the whole idea behind the show is the chaos that ensues that we never saw. They allude to it, of the power vacuum. We see episodes where they go, like when they're arguing over land and everything, and that's just a speckling. That's like way later. The idea that when he was dead, it was such a chaotic vacuum that the system lords almost collapsed before they recontrolled everything. And the only reason we were able to beat him, like if he just decided to come and kill us, we would have there was no chance. The whole idea was like the Asgard couldn't stop Ra. That's why they had the agreement.
Mm-hmm.
And if they weren't and then we find out if they weren't at war with the replicators, they would have stopped all the regular system lords. They had the power to do that. They just didn't have the power to stop Ra with his vast forces at that time. The only reason we beat him is because he had no fucking idea that there was anybody in his realm that had the ability to blow him up.
Like, so because he's overconfident.
They retcon it, because in the movie, Ra is like a legit alien that wears human skin, and like a gray alien that wears human skin. They retconned it because when he blows up in the movie, there's no slugs or anything. It's just a gray alien underneath a human shell,
like more of a possession kind of thing.
Like either a spirit possession thing or something like that. And again, they can retcon that. They did. But the idea that like he looks like he's looking down at our stuff, he's like, "What the hell is that?" And we're like, "It's a bomb." And he blows him up. He's like, "What the fuck?" Because they had never, under his rule, encountered any planet that wasn't protected by the Asgard. That like there's no humans that would have dared even got to the level that they could possibly hurt him. So the whole reason he dies is he has no idea what a human-made bomb looks like. So we literally got dumb luck.
He failed the right perception check.
Exactly. He rolled it. He didn't even fail a perception check. He didn't think he needed to roll for perception.
Yeah.
And he blows up. And because of that, that's why Anubis is able to come back, because he's like, wait, the Tari killed him? And that's what starts all of Stargate. That's how they retcon it. Is they're like, because they're like, oh, he was so easy to kill, and he's the god of them all. It's like, no, he was so easy to kill because it's literally like, what if a toddler walked up to you and said, "I want to give you a hug." A toddler gave you a hug and then walked away and strapped a nuke to you.
Yeah. So there's going to be a lot of good stuff coming up in season 2 of Stargate TWIG whenever we get around to that. So all your characters are still alive, which is good.
Yep.
Which is
good.
We came very close.
Season 2 might be 4 episodes.
Now,
how it works.
Now,
we all end up dying.
Now, I guess before I begin to wrap this up, some final thoughts from me. There are some systems we didn't use from the Wyvern games. We didn't use determination points, which basically help set encounters. We didn't use tension die. And that's mostly because I wanted things to run smooth. This was basically a D&D hack. And I don't think I did the game as much justice as I would have liked, because I really do like the way this game is designed. I just wanted to get things out in a comfortable way that I knew.
And some of that works better when you're all in the same room visually at a table.
Yeah, because a lot of the determination point system is you're betting like poker chips. So when you're in like a combat setting or a social encounter,
when we're having to do almost everything as theater of the mind remotely, there are things you're going to cut when we're not a video podcast. So
yeah, like I wanted things to run fast and smooth. That's why I'm very fast and loose with the rules when it comes to these games. There are very few games where I'm a rules lawyer. In fact, almost none. One, because rules can get in the way of fun. If it interrupts the flow of the game or I'm having to constantly reference rules or numbers, that slows things down. That breaks your immersion.
Or if the goal is to have like not a set amount of episodes, but if you're like, hey, in my head, to get this narrative to where I want it to go, we're going to do 3 more hours, and everybody rolls like critical ones 10 minutes into the journey, you don't necessarily want to just kill them just because, oh, the rules say I have to kill them, and now I have no show for 3 weeks.
Yeah, like there was a good possibility JT was going to die. And I was thinking, I'm going to need myself a way out of that. So that's why the plot element of the silver liquid was introduced. What that means in terms of things going forward, I'm going to say this, not everything has been revealed regarding that. I do have ideas already kind of brewing right now. So
I was kind of wondering about whether or not they're going to come find me after the last episode, and Carter's just kind of like, hey guys, sweeping himself off or something.
Excuse me for a moment. You go and blow your nose and you're like, there's all this silver stuff and it's all out of my body and we never have to worry about it again. And I don't hear voices. Magic hand wave. Oh wait,
yeah, and then that's the end of that episode. Carter does the end of the Thriller video, turn towards the camera with the evil smile on his face and his eyes are all silver with the
I guess one of the things, and this will be my final thing before I throw it to you guys, some stuff that was cut from this season. There was going to be an episode involving xenomorphs, but I'm thinking no, because I've gone to that well too many times. As much as I enjoy the idea behind the Xenos, I don't see them as compatible with Stargate because it's a little too violent, I think, given the subject matter. And nobody here has really died outside of those Jaffa that you liquefied with the thing. I wish I'd given you guys more weaponry to play with. Since you were the tactical weapons integration group, you were more or less the mailmen of
it's the Dirty Dozen, but not Dirty Dozen. We're just thrown in.
We're the Suicide Squad of the Stargate network.
And,
a little bit.
And I wanted you guys to have a broad adventure set. And I also cut a dinosaur-focused episode because I couldn't figure out ways to make it work properly. And I did cut another idea where you dealt with a planet of androids. But again, I had the setting, I had the idea, but I couldn't figure out what was a good story to tell. So we're going to start at the top of the order. So Alex, what was your favorite moment from this season? And what do you want to see in season 2?
Favorite moment? Oh no. Favorite individual moment? Trying to think of something either really funny or favorite moment. I'm debating it's either on the ice, like the ice planet, or okay, favorite moment is probably, as mundane as it might sound, us trying to sneak through the courtyard when it's like dark and raining on the plant planet.
Okay.
Just like just the vision in my head, I was like, it's like we're playing, like it's like we're in The Last of Us or something.
All right, good. I like that.
As far as so you said favorite, and what was the other?
And what do you want to see in season 2?
In season 2, I want to see I want to see us at some point in space.
Okay. I can make that happen.
Whether it be like on a ship or somehow in space, something to do with space, I'd be interested in.
Okay. All right. So we will go to Ken. Favorite moment, and what do you want to see in season 2?
Honestly, my favorite moment has to be the legit threat that Charmunda, that whole square off in the decrepit, falling apart base with Charmunda and the bears and us caught in the middle.
Yeah, I didn't expect to have to kill Liam this season because he, unfortunately, he had to leave the show due to personal reasons.
But at the same time, it
worked
also
out.
built the threat.
Mm-hmm.
And we could have obviously saved him if the dice had been in our favor, but because we didn't, it also just added that threat to the underlying villain of our entire campaign. And then what I want to see next season, I would love to see, because like I've obviously placed a little tidbit to you, and I've been obviously kind of serving it up as a silver platter, but I would love to see kind of you pull on some of the strings that even me or Alex or JT are just kind of leaving for you to pull.
All right. So that's with like your daughter, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's what we were talking about with General PK Lawyer promising the help as soon as the threat's dealt with. That will get dealt with in next season. So I guess JT, what's your favorite moment? What do you want to see in season 2?
Well, I mean, first of all, I'm not hating on you, Cal. You kind of stole my thunder because I was going to say just kind of Charmunda in general, but if I were to go a more personal kind of thing, I just really loved because I called it the cannonball run in a tweet when we did that episode of where we clamber into the off-brand Warthog. Carter gets up, he lays those guys out with that one blast because I rolled really well, and then we give was it Makwa the lone survivor of the Formy potentially, and he's got to drive this thing, so it just seemed like a little bit of a action comedic moment of this bear driving a truck out of a town. That because I'm easily pleased, obviously. That was kind of my favorite bit. It's just something about that, like I said, late 90s syndicated TV. I am happy. What I would like to see in the next season, more development on whether or not Carter's going to become a Borg or like some super soldier or something, or they're just going to, here, we're just going to change your blood. A resolution to that story idea. And one small thing, if I may, you mentioned a dinosaur planet. I want to see a sequence where we're all on the backs of like some T-Rexes or Triceratops charging into battle. Like, I want a Dino Riders moment, Mike. If you could make that happen, I would die happy.
I will see what I can do. My favorite moment from this season is the goodbye on the jungle planet, where the scientist decides she has to stay behind because this work cannot leave this planet. And when she's talking to the friend she's made in the mess hall, and that moment, like, I don't know if you could tell in my voice, but there is some genuine emotion going on there. And I always want to build my NPCs. Yeah, they're goofy, they're loud, some of them are over the top, but a lot of the emotions are real. And when you have to say goodbye to someone that you like and love, that's a powerful moment. What I want to do in season 2, make all your wishes come true. And I want to experiment with more of the advancement systems in this game. Basically get into a little bit more of the nitty gritty, but also still making it streamlinable for online play that we do here. So as we close out the show, guys, I want to hear from you guys. What do you want to see in season 2 of Stargate TWIG? What other games do you want to see us play? As of this recording, Alex is planning on running Power Rangers, the role-playing game from Renegade Game Studios. He'll be running the adventure out of the Geekmasters screen. None of us have read it. So Alex will be doing that. That might be a short thing. It might be a long thing. Who knows? We do have G.I. Joe. We've got Transformers. I think they all run on the same system. We've got Star Trek Adventures.
And there's other, there's other smaller games we can do for one-offs that we both have, or I have, that I could send over. I backed the Kickstarter Brindlewood Bay, so that might be something to do over the holidays, because it looks like it's coming out Christmas time.
Mm-hmm.
That is basically Golden Girls meet Cthulhu.
I'm in. So anyway, guys,
have you heard about it?
No.
I'll briefly tell you, because I think it's something we're probably gonna like. Me and Kickstarters, I'm not somebody who does a lot of them, but when I read into it, I was like, I kind of have to. So it is basically Murder, She Wrote, where all the characters playing are elderly women in their 70s or 80s that are friends that have, like, your skills and abilities will be things like, I'm good at knitting. I'm good. I do scrapbooking. I'm a good cook. And you end up solving mysteries. The cover of the book has like them on all on like a singular bicycle, 3 old ladies, and a black cat in a basket on the front. And you're solving mysteries which appear to be like regular murders or random things. Like it could be something like, all the stray dogs in town have gone missing. And you'll go to find them, and as you go to find them, you'll find things like there's these weird stones arranged in a certain circle, and it will become like a Lovecraftian horror thing.
That sounds interesting. That could be a lot of fun.
And so the Kickstarter, I backed the highest tier, which includes hardcover books of the main book, one called Nephews in Peril, which is more story prompts and ideas. That, because all those Agatha Christie type things, like in Murder, She Wrote, it's always like she has a young nephew or a young cousin who happens to be some guy like 50 years younger than her that ends up either helping her or needs her help. So it's more of those stories. And the third book that they're including with the Kickstarter, if you get the higher tier, is a real honest to goodness cookbook.
Interesting.
Based on for the old ladies make. And in the cookbook, they have handwritten notes, or what appears to be handwritten notes, all over every page and recipe that if you read them, eventually in certain orders will spell out more mysteries for you to solve and give you backstories into some of the stories that you play through that you won't be able to figure out any other way.
That's very cool. Yeah, I think you should play that.
So I was like, oh shit. That's something, again, that's far down the line, but that's the kind of stuff that I'm getting interested in. I'm like, if I'm going to go indie game, I want to go indie like this.
Yeah, so we got a lot of good stuff kind of going on now. As much as I would love to continue talking, I must go to the bathroom. So
as we all probably should.
As we all probably should. So thank you guys for kind of sticking with us. We're going to have another show after I recover from surgery. And once Alex has the book all read and he feels comfortable game mastering, I will be a player this time, and it'll be an exciting time to be had here on the show. So for this season of Stargate TWIG, we'll come up with a Stargate or a new name for the actual play podcast, but whatever.
It's probably going to be Cambridge Chronicles.
Probably going to be Cambridge Chronicles. So anyway, guys, until next time, joining us from the city of Kitchener, we have been
Alex.
From the great state of New Jersey,
it's Ken.
From your friendly neighborhood liquor store,
JT.
And I've been your game master, your friend, your entertainer, your master of ceremonies. I've been Mike the Birdman, and I will catch you guys again real soon, right here on ThisWeekInGeek.net.